My name is Bernhard Koch. I'm working at University of Natural Resources and Life Science, Vienna. For those who don't know me or my background, I started in 1999 in Bremerhaven in the Center of TechTransfer. Yes.
Sorry that I interrupted you. I didn't ask for the, I just implied that everyone is okay with recording their presentations, and sorry for my mistake. I'm just now asking if everyone is okay with that, so that the materials would be available afterwards and be recorded. So it's okay from your side. Okay, super.
No problem.
Thank you very much, and sorry again for
the
interruption.
Yeah. I started my career in the Center of Technology Transfer in Bremerhaven in north of Germany. And after several steps, I came to BOKU and built up the Center of TechTransfer there, the central management support regarding all tech transfer activities at BOKU. Since 1 year, I have changed to the Center of Bioeconomy, and I'm very glad that you invited me within our project Phoebe, where to present today a bit about technology, my technology transfer experiences, and why technology transfer, the need of technology transfer is increasing, I think, and rising more and more to tackle all these challenges which we are facing every day. Please, I want to invite you to ask questions whenever you feel one, you have one. Don't hesitate. I think it makes it more relaxed. And thanks for some of you keeping the camera still on so that I'm not talking just to black windows. Yeah. Just a few facts about BOKU. The name BOKU, or the acronym, comes from Universität für Bodenkultur Wien, and our English name is University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences Vienna, that you don't get mixed up. Yeah, I think you get the slides then as a PDF. Therefore, if you're more interested on our background, I want to read it. I think it's not necessary to read that all to you. BOKU today, we have about 12,000 students, and here you see, okay, I don't know if you see the cursor. Can you see my cursor? No, it doesn't seem so.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah. Some of our networks, we are partner, and so that we really work in a European-based environment. And a bit about the BOKU technology transfer, what happened in the last 16 years, because in Austria, the universities had an important law in 2004, where the legal framework for the Austrian universities changed. Nowadays, we have 15 to 20 service inventions per year. And since 2007, our researchers at BOKU generated more than 100 patent families. I think now it's already nearly 120. And of course, these inventions generated more than 300 patent applications. Yeah, I think even the euros we generated, and I always emphasize, I think that tech transfer is not only for generating euros, but of course it's a very important side effect to finance the stuff to motivate the rectorates to invest also into tech transfer. But if you see this sum, the nice thing is that if you start the tech transfer office, of course, you have to expect 10 years of about 10 years where you pay more in than you get out. But the nice thing is it's a very good investment if your tech transfer team is doing good work. The refund is increasing every year, and there is after 10-15 years you could expect at least a break even regarding the patent costs and the staff costs at your university, I think. Yeah, of course it's varying which kind of university you're working for. Medical universities normally do it faster. Other universities, it takes more time. And of course, it's also depending how much and how you invest at the beginning in your tech transfer. In the 16 years where I have been the team leader, or the director of the tech transfer, more than 20 spin-offs have been founded at BOKU. Some of the logos you see here. Some of our spin-offs, of course, left BOKU and Austria, are now in Cambridge and all over the world. Yeah, now regarding the project Phoebe, I will tell you a bit later on. Now to the main part of my presentation, technology transfer, background, and why it's so important nowadays. When people think about technology transfer, they think mainly about patents, software transfer, all these IPR rights. And therefore, I think it's very important in the first step to have the broad picture. Yeah, and if if you have got a good university, the technology transfer, or especially in Austria, we are much more talking already now about knowledge transfer in general. The knowledge transfer from a university into companies or the society starts, I think, with the graduates of a university. We should never forget that, because the better they are trained, yeah, the more knowledge is pumped into our society and especially in our companies. In Europe now, the topic lifelong learning activities is very hot, and of course here as well. There is technology transfer, knowledge transfer taking place every day, and I emphasize it so much because at least in Austria, again and again, we have the discussion why the universities get so much public funds. Yeah, but I think the first three points, also the publications, these three points are, I think, a very good explanation why it needs public funding of universities. Because that's the way you improve the knowledge base. Yeah, and I think we have seen it also now in COVID times, that it was very important that there is a broad, intense research in public institutions. At BOKU, in the last few years, we started also with infrastructure sharing, and I can tell you, from my point of view, it's a very nice possibility to exchange knowledge, knowledge and technology with companies you're working close. And at BOKU, there are so-called core facilities. which are used by several different institutes at the university, but these core facilities can also used by companies, of course, especially by spin-offs or startups in general of BOKU. And of course, due to state aid rules, companies have to pay for that, but nevertheless, it's easy to access. And of course, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, it can be very helpful to use external infrastructure and not to have the need to build labs or a certain NMR machines or something else for a few experiments. And now I think these are the 4 dots which normally people think of if they think of technology transfer. And of course, these are also is the main focus of the TechTransfer offices or in most of the universities I know. What to say? Collaboration projects within industry, are differentiated clear between contract research or research services and collaboration projects, because different rules, different processes apply to these 2 possibilities. And they, of course, during the last years, the rules got stricter also regarding taxation. I don't know how your experiences in Slovenia or in Germany or in Hungary are regarding these rules, especially the administration volume regarding taxation and so on, also for public institutions, has increased enormous. Another possibility of technology transfer is licensing or selling patents, what means that you generate the intellectual property within the university without prior participation of industry, and you file it, and then you look for a partner in the industry. I have to say, at BOKU, the bigger part is taking place directly in collaboration projects. In both ways, the companies have to pay for the intellectual property due to the state aid framework of the European Union. The last version of generation of spin-off companies, of course, our politicians, and I know the politicians in most of the European member states are focusing on that most. It's very posh, very popular, and a lot of indicators are dealing with the numbers of spin-off companies. Regarding, or from the point of tech transfer management, I have to say a spin-off was always my last option for transferring technology into the society. Why? If I have a really hot and very interesting technology, the best and the fast and also the financially most interesting possibility to transfer it to society is to make a nice contract, a nice collaboration with an existing company which is already established in the market. Such a company knows how to handle this technology and how to push it fast to the market. And of course, spin-off generation is a nice thing, especially if you have young teams, if you have some researchers who are keen to found a company. But the risk for your interesting technology to become successful on the market is much higher. Yeah. I emphasize this so much because this is a point a lot of decision makers, governance bodies don't want to hear, because of course it's much more sexier to say, oh, we generated 10 new spin-offs. And I think you have seen before, BOKU has generated quite a lot of spin-offs. It's not the reason that I say it because we weren't able to do that. No, I think the best way for a society, for the taxpayers, is to transfer the knowledge, the innovation directly to existing companies. Yeah, there is something in the chat.
Yes, we are having two questions. So the first question would be, what is the survival rate of your spin-offs? And the second one, does the university have a share in these spin-offs?
Yeah, very good questions. Thanks. The survival rate, I have to say, all companies I expect that I expected to have success had success at the end. Yeah. The logos you have seen are all logos of still existing companies, and they all managed their first 3 years. Some of them had really difficult times, had some reorganization phases, but they managed that. Yeah, of course, there were a few difficult projects where the professors insisted on founding a company, and where we had a bad feeling from the beginning. Yeah, and that's why I don't calculate this rate in that way. And of course, especially English experts, the friends I know in Cambridge, where 2 companies moved to, told me, oh, then if you have such a high success rate, you do too little risk. And I said, okay, I can live with that, especially if this risk is on the is carried out not by me as a person, because I have my good job at the university, but normally the founders are young guys. Some of them have just a small kid and so on. Therefore, it's very easy for some guys who say, oh, you have to be risky. Yeah. The aim of BOKU was always to support teams and to train them in a way that they have a high success rate. Of course, some of them it took them quite a long time to have success. Regarding the second question, it's a bit connected. The BOKU approach is a bit connected to the first question. BOKU doesn't take shares in companies. I know there are also in Austria universities who take shares. I think it's very depending on the legal framework and on the special situation of a university. If you take shares as a university in Austria, the board of the university has to be, whenever you change something in your share, on your share percentage, or you change something in the company, you have to ask the university board. And the learning from the first company which we founded, which was founded at BOKU, was that the speed a young company needs is so fast that these board decisions just slower this process. And I think some of the companies which are now successful wouldn't exist anymore if the BOKU would have had shares in it. Additionally, BOKU doesn't have a budget for doing that. We discussed it with the ministry. We don't have the budget for that. And therefore we decided you have seen the logo of F-Star, which is now in Cambridge. We decided to make clear contracts with the company because we are not allowed to give them things for free. And we make quite flexible contracts, and each startup, each spin-off in this case, gets one contract regarding the intellectual property or this soft know-how, yeah, because today we have more clear look on the software patents and software, which is not most of the time not easily to be filed. And then they can get a second contract if they need space or infrastructure. And there's a third contract if they need staff of BOKU. And these three contracts are totally different. Normally they have different time frames. And in the last 20 years, it has been really a successful approach. Other universities in Austria tried different things and changed it several times. Yeah. And for example, who knows the University of Innsbruck? They take shares, I think, in most of their spin-offs, and they are very successful because they used to have a university board which was very flexible, and where there are always members in this board who have financial background. Therefore, this difficulty regarding board decisions is not as high as for BOKU with a very plural board, let's call it like this, or a more conservative board regarding spin-offs. Yeah. Okay. I hope I answered it. You can also speak out loud, because maybe in the chat I don't see the questions.
Tamara,
may I? Bernhard, hello. Glad to have you with us again. A question, would this difference that you mentioned be the result of the ownership of the university? Here I'm referring to state ownership of the university versus private university.
No. The University of Innsbruck is also a state-owned university, also depending on the same University Act as BOKU, but due to certain reasons, also the rector has founded several companies, yeah, and the rector didn't change a long time, and he managed to have a board which is very flexible, and two of these guys are always reachable, and the other members of the board have no problem if the two members of the board with this financial background are doing the decisions. Then you manage these things, yeah, and that's the secret, let's call it like this, from the University of Innsbruck. But other universities try to make daughter companies which are then owning or taking shares. It's always very difficult, and BOKU, also due to resource topics, decided to go an easy way. Yeah, and if you talk also to big TechTransfer offices in Germany, they all will tell you, for taking shares, you need a team within the university who has high competence, and you need a big legal department, and BOKU is not a big university, yeah, and we would need an external partner to manage it. Isn't this way? But in the way we are going, it's easier for a smaller university, and also the political risk is not high, because the University of Veterinary in Vienna once had a spin-off who went bankrupt, and then the vice rector had to had to resign as well. Although it makes no sense, and although everybody in our competence field expects spin-offs to go bankrupt, it's normal for a spin-off, yeah. But in Austria, it's still, oh my God, the university made a mistake and the vice rector has to leave. That's why we decided not to be owner. Does it help?
Thank you, Bernhard.
This technology transfer is interaction between science and industry. And for this interaction, because as we now realize already, it's quite complex and it needs also some experience. It's recommendable to have an intermediate office. Yeah, in most of the universities nowadays, it's an in-house TechTransfer office. This is also there are also certain reasons why to have at least some experts in-house, and these people have to take care for this communication, for partnering. These guys have to be as kind of interpreters between university and companies. Of course, these guys have to understand patenting, licensing, or also not the topic of software or technologies, which how to handle technologies which are not patentable. And of course, they have to have a feeling for the process of service inventions. And this is so complex, and it's not the everyday language of our researchers, at least at BOKU. Yeah? Because our researchers, some of them, I hope none of them is listening, some of them are nearly allergic against some of these things. Yeah, and therefore, if you want to also empower researchers who don't want to care about entrepreneurial stuff, yeah, you need such interpreters which support these excellent researchers in the interaction with companies. Because we always have to think of a lot of researchers, at least I met, went or stayed at university and stayed in the scientific sector due to certain reasons, yeah, because they are creative guys, they are getting completely lost in their topics, yeah, and from my point of view, this is sometimes very, it's the totally opposite to a founder. Therefore, also most of our companies, spin-offs which have been successfully founded, have been founded, of course, with a professor in the background, but with a young team which has this, a young team of guys which are very interested in the entrepreneurial thinking. And yes, it's very complex. I said it already, and therefore it's very important to have clear rules, to have competent people, and to have trust. And what do I mean with clear rules? I have to push that over there. There is a lot of legislation nowadays connected with this topic of tech transfer. And therefore, it's very important to have a good overview in the EU and in the national state aid framework, into the patent law, and to the taxation law. Yeah, that's a new topic just in Austria the last 4 or 5 years. What are the what is deriving from the contractual requirements? Yeah, and you need people who understand each other, who are competent also in this topic. Not only the scientific competence, you need also the competence regarding law, regarding state aid, and so on. And you have to keep the people motivated. And this is on the public institution side sometimes quite difficult, because people in the public institutions are sometimes you're not the public institutions sometimes, at least in Austria, are not thinking in resource or in time matters. They are just saying, oh, we have 10 people, they have to do that, and they have to do the teaching and so on. But that TechTransfer is running, you need really motivated people who have enough resources to interact with companies. And the third corner of my triangle is trust. TechTransfer only works if you act on an equal footing, or in German you say auf Augenhöhe, on the same eye level. You need continuity. That's why I stayed 16 years in this job, because it's very important to have in the in-house team at least one or two people who stay in contact also with the people on the other side of the company, but also within, so that the in-house researchers trust in the TechTransfer people. And trust needs, of course, time. That means if you successful TechTransfer comes from projects which which are repeated, or how do you say? Yeah, you start a collaboration, then you make a bigger project. In Austria, there's a nice funding which is called Christian Doppler Labors. This is then perfect because it's a 7 years project. Yeah, and then you really have perfect exchange, and you make one contract. Yeah, which I think most of you know how complicated it is nowadays to have a good contract which is reliable, and then you do one contract and you have 7 years, 7 years project running with a company. Yeah, and then you really have trust, and which is a very good model to have successful technology transfer. I recommend it again and again to politicians in other countries. Yeah, and then of course it's reliable, and you land on the spot. Just I was asked not to talk too much about the details in the everyday work, or regarding the details regarding patenting, because most of the participants, I think it's covered, and we focus mainly on software. But just this is an old slide I found regarding the invention procedure. From the invention, from the invention to the patent application, and then after a few years, the refund in money. And this procedure, the researcher is not interested in. Also on the company side, most of the guys there are not interested in, and therefore it's important to have on both sides an expert who is taking care for that, because if you do a mistake here in the invention disclosure, or in the claim decision, or in the patent application, then you can lose a lot of money, and the patent is maybe not worth €1 just because of silly mistakes somewhere here. Yeah, and therefore it's also very important to have experts and to train people to be able to follow this path. Yeah, which is in reality even more complex. Yeah, and now 2 short slides regarding the project I'm just working in now. Phoebe, fostering entrepreneurship for the bioeconomy. And I prefer to talk about intrapreneurship as well, because a lot of people, not everybody of us is each of us is founding a company just because he learns a bit about entrepreneurship. Also, people who are working in big companies should have nowadays a feeling for entrepreneurship, and that's why we call it at BOKU entrepreneurship. And this project is focusing also on a teaching or learning module for our students. Students at the beginning, just from these partners of project partners, AgroParisTech, Hohenheim, University of Eastern Finland, Uni Bologna, University of Warsaw, and Wageningen. And the idea is to make an additional course, which is not a basic master or bachelor course. It's an additional course where they get the most important skills, as we discuss it here as well, to be able to learn, to have a basic understanding of entrepreneurial challenges. And why do we need that? I think is that we need this transformation in society. We have to leave the fossil fuels. We have to collect all our innovative potential, all our know-how, and it's we can't afford to have good innovations in the university which are not which aren't then transferred to companies. We have to act now, and that's why technology transfer is, from my point of view, the hottest point now to survive the global change. Yeah, and for further help and information, to dive deeper into technology transfer, I can recommend the relevant expert networks like ASTP. I've seen in your summer school, you also link to the European Patent Office website. There are great courses regarding patenting in detail, and also all the European national patent offices have offer training courses, sometimes in cooperation with the EPO, sometimes just as a national patent office. Please, wherever you are working, in the university, in the companies, use these courses. The quality has increased during the last years. There are a lot of YouTube tutorials, quizzes, and so on. You can get really a lot of information on your own, especially if you're a student and and still have a bit more time compared to people who are working already in companies. As a company, please get in contact with TechTransfer offices at your potential partner university. Don't talk only to the researchers. Get involved with the TechTransfer offices. I think most of the universities now in Europe have at least one or two persons taking care for this connection between industry and science. And yeah, furthermore, there are, I think, also in most of the European regions, public intermediary organizations or agencies. Most of the time, they're regional focused, and these agencies offer a lot of support and consultancy for free or quite cheap. Look for help. Don't do it just alone in your room or just together with a scientist in the university. And of course, you could hire a trained graduate of BOKU or other universities. I think Budapest University Technical University of Budapest is partner in your project. As far as I know, they are quite good already also. you have a look for graduates from universities who are taking care for these future topics. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, the last slide, it's just, again, from my perspective, it's very important to have projects like Knowing IPR or Phoebe. Otherwise, we won't. Yeah, I would be very afraid for our planet. I really have to say that. That's the reason why I changed from TechTransfer to the Center of Bioeconomy at BOKU. Yeah. Further questions, remarks, please contact me. Feel free to send me an email. Maybe we meet again in person one day. If it looks good, yeah, I think. And yeah, that was it from my side.
Thank you very much. And probably just before going to the short break, maybe a short question from the audience, if there are any. If not, I'll have I'll take the advantage and I'll just steal the question. So in case somebody wants, just feel free to enter the discussion. Okay, then I'll just put my question. Earlier, when you showed the components, of in a way of a successful tech transfer process, let's say like that. Could we emphasize one of those three parts to put it, let's say, on the first place and say that, look, this is more important than the other two, or not? Or do you consider that this would actually be, all three components would be very important, and they cannot be labeled as, the most important and the least important?
From my point of view, there is not one thing, there is this triangle. As I mentioned it before, the trust, the people, and the transparent rules. Yeah. During the time I started in 2004, the first years, it was very difficult to transfer or to transfer technology in the official and in the correct way. Yeah, of course, BOKU was very successful already before 2004, but that was done without any rules. At that time, nobody cared. Yeah, also the European Union didn't care, state aid and all these things. Yeah, but then the first 2-3 years was really difficult to get the trust in-house, not outside. Yeah, to get the trust of the inventors that they come with their ideas. Yeah, and we started with the inventions, because inventions are quite clear. Yeah, we didn't care about software at the beginning because it was too complex, and I was so lucky that at BOKU there wasn't so much software in the 0 years. Yeah, software increased as a topic in the last 10 years because of digitalization. But of course, software, I don't want to demotivate the audience today, but software is much more complex because it's much more difficult to catch it, to put it into a box. And we had to get some additional directives to handle software in a good way, and also in a way that the people stay motivated. That's why I put this slide with motivation. Yeah. It doesn't help if you just follow strictly the law and you lose the way, the people on the way. Yeah, because that's a silly law. I don't tell anybody anymore about my ideas. Yeah. Therefore, you need this triangle, the clear rules which are accepted by the people, so that they stay motivated and that they trust you. Yeah, and then you can establish as well the trust to the partner companies, and then suddenly it was like an exponential curve. The project increases, every year the invention reports increased, but we still tried to keep it with 20 invention reports per year. Just we increased the quality. Yeah, we filtered earlier so that we could handle still these invention reports in a good quality. But at the beginning, of course, these invention reports were not so great. Yeah, the more the people trusted us, the more that they disclosed their big ideas. Yeah, and therefore, if you really want to prioritize if you really want me to prioritize, I think trust is the most important thing, and then there comes it's followed by the process. Yeah, the best process doesn't help if there is no trust, and the best process has to be changed every time for each invention. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And let's have the last question from Juana.
Thank you, Victor. I have a question for Mr. Koch. My question comes from this issue of trust. How many people are working in your TechTransfer department, and what is their background? Because I imagine just having I don't know, a specific type of studies is not very helpful. Let's say legal studies. Do they come from other activities, other fields of interest?
Thank you, Anna. It's depending on the university. BUKU is a very diverse university. We have life science guys, we have organic farming, we have satellite image analysis. Yeah, therefore, and I was a chemist. Therefore, it was a good decision of our vice rector to, at the beginning, to start with a technician, yeah, who speaks the language of natural scientists and technicians, and the other person was a legal guy. Yeah, and I have to say, I changed. Or of course, because I couldn't pay so much as in the private industry, my team changed quite often. We started with 2 people, then we were 3. Several times we have been just part-times, then we could be 4. Yeah, but we also used economic experts. Yeah, we as a tech transfer office have been a very diverse team, to be able to speak all the languages, to react in an adequate way to our researchers, to our different researchers, because my researchers in the biotechnology area need different things or compared to the food experts. Therefore, and you of course you need an academic experience in the background so that they respect you, but you don't have to be a farming expert to patent a farming invention. Yeah, because the patent is done by a patent attorney and not in-house. Yeah, the tech transfer office, you need the right personality, and the background is not so important, as long as you have a diverse team.
And do you recruit them internally from the university or outside the university? Because you said that they need to have an academic background, so that they are expected.
Both. I tried both, and I have the experience. The guys who came in-house, from who were master students. Yeah, there was the problem. They finished their study. Then they started to work in my office, and after 2 years they left because they wanted to see the world, because I was looking for open-minded people. Yeah, therefore it was very nice at the beginning because they knew the professors and so on, but then you have to expect them to move. Yeah, but if you remember my slide, you need this trust. Yeah, and trust needs time, and therefore it's not helpful if the team is permanently changing. That was one of my big challenges. Therefore, it was better to get people in who had some experience, maybe from the University of Economy, who were very curious Yeah, you have to focus on the personality of the people and on which time of their career they are. And of course, if you wait too long, you can't pay them with university wages. Yeah. And of course, you need people who are crazy for these inventions. Yeah. And who can show that to the researchers, who are saying, oh, great, what you're doing here. You shouldn't look for people who say, who are very, yeah. Therefore, you have to focus on these things, and the disadvantage of in-house people is that they haven't been outside till now.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for accepting the participation at our summer school, for having very interesting presentation. And now I would propose, let's say, a 5-minute break, yeah, so that we can have some beverages, some refreshments, and afterwards we will continue with our following presentations. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
So for the rest, see you in 5 minutes.